Hello, everyone. Glad you're able to join us tonight. We're still recovering from our trip up to Indiana, and we had a good trip. It was very eventful, and we got to meet a lot of great people, and also were able to assist two of the three families in their fight for justice for their loved ones, and it was very rewarding to and humbling to meet those families and try to do and have an impact on them. But tonight's show, as always, a little housekeeping and everything, that as we get into the Delphi subjects, if you have persons of interest or names or anything, do not use any initials or names. If you have tips, call that into law enforcement. Respect the mods, respect each other in chat, and we'll get into it now. As always, a little introduction. This is Mrs. Steve, and I'm Steve. I'm retired law enforcement, had 20 years of service. Started off working in a jail, worked road, and went into investigations. During the 20 years, I had all different types of training from SWAT all the way up through to my investigative career, and became a state certified crime scene tech, which assisted my investigations immensely. But I worked all different types of cases, from simple cases to burglaries up to homicides. And then I retired. And after I retired and found the true crime world and the web sleuths, and saw some of the issues that was in there, I decided that I wanted to become an ambassador for law enforcement, and have done so. And started this channel, and it has led to several projects, including Cyclops and our co-case projects. And we're looking forward to continuing them. And we appreciate everyone that has helped us, our members. And I will address this again about our members. Tomorrow afternoon, for all our members only, I will be doing another members only chat briefing update. So if y'all have any time tomorrow evening, we'll be on the air and be sharing some more information and answering all your questions. And but we will appreciate everyone that supports us in every way that they do, from sharing the videos to watching them, to liking them, giving us the thumbs up. And but we just want to support, appreciate all our supporters. There's so many different ways you can support this channel. We're most grateful for that. And thank you. But this is the Delphi Bridge. It's an absolutely beautiful bridge. Well, Mrs. Steve doesn't like it. She doesn't like bridges.
It's a little creepy.
Yes, it's a little creepy, and she doesn't like bridges. She doesn't even like cross a bridge in a vehicle. So, so that kind of led to a little issue there. But we'll get through
I won.
Yeah, she won again, as always. But anyway, we had went to this while we worked those code cases, and then our other times that we dedicated to come to Delphi, which we spent a lot of time in Delphi also. We were there every day that we were staying with our host and hostess. Absolutely unbelievable people. I am so glad that I have made friends such as them. They're extremely well educated. They're extremely nice people, and they shared their home with us and welcomed us as family. And they'll always be part of our family now. And I want to thank them straight from my heart. And Mrs. Steve, before the show, we were talking about how much we miss them already, because they were, they treated us unbelievably, and I want to thank them. It meant a lot to us. It meant a lot to this case that we could concentrate so much just whenever we was helping the other families or going to Delphi. Their knowledge of the area and ability and willingness to help us greatly and ease the burden that we have. We had long days every day. They had long days, and we thank them for it. But anyway, as we get into it, some question had that when I was getting ready and prepping to go to Delphi, some questions came up, and I had asked some of my viewers to send me any questions they had. And there's a lot of different things that we did in Delphi. And tonight we're going to be focusing on one of those. But I mean, I learned so much during this trip. I learned a lot about the searches that were conducted that night, why Libby and Abby possibly weren't found that night. We learned about issues of if they were targeted. We learned about the Ron Logan search warrant and some of the pings, and we'll be concentrating a lot on that tonight. And we did time trials from the bridge all the way to town, different parts of the trail. I mean, it was a busy week. We traveled 1,800 miles during this period, round trip from Georgia up to there, and then the trips between our host and hostess's home to Delphi and to Kokomo and to Peru and to another city where we was working with a family on their cold case. But so there's a lot of travel time in that during that period. But one of the greatest things and one of the focus points was that when I sent out that question and asked all my viewers and anyone and other creators that if you had a question, let me know what it was. And one of the questions, Isaiah Magic, True Crime Web Box, thank you. That means a lot. Appreciate your support. Thank you. But Cop Facts had sent us sent me a email, and he said that he wanted me to check on a certain issue that just didn't seem right. And so I looked at it and from his point of view, and I agreed with him that yes, it doesn't appear right. And so I had to figure out how I could test and create some controls to verify what his suspicions were and what that might lead to. And so that's what we're going to be totally focusing on tonight. And you'll see that it was shocking to us what we found. And it was shocking to our host and hostess that was in the vehicle. And we're talking about extremely well-educated people. One of them's an engineer. One of them's a professional with high degree in another highly technical field. And Mrs. Steve with a Google machine, but she still has special skills also. But
Google machine needs some good mojo today too.
Yeah, there's a little bug flying.
It's had some issues.
Yeah. But anyway, we were addressing these issues about the phone pings, and that some of the issues just didn't make sense when you looked at them. And so that's what we focused on. And we focused on them in many different areas. But as we get into it, I'll give you a little bit more details about it. I don't know what that is.
What are you doing?
There's a bug flying around. I got him. But as we were doing our test, and we were done during the day, we met with Randy, and Randy was absolutely a great source of information. And we went and he gave us a tour and gave us all the way some insights all the way down to the bridge. And we had another resource of information there with us also, and we wish to thank them also because everyone wants to help and have an impact on this case. And so they had got us access to certain areas that we wouldn't have had access to. And so we used them to the utmost that we could, and found out some pretty important information, I believe, that will settle some issues about what went on that night while the Libby and Abby was missing. And it's going to answer a lot about why that phone was pinging. Miss Doglugger.
Love the name.
Yes, thank you. Appreciate your support. It means a lot to us. But one of the issues that you hear about, and I had seen quite often, was that Libby's phone was pinging all over town. And then when Cop Facts said some of the GPS locations just didn't make sense along with the timeline. And so that, like I said, led me to the trying to figure out how I could test that situation to see how we could possibly recreate what went on that day. And so we went in, and, you know, it was pretty simple once we got to thinking about it and how to locate a phone and, find my phone, find my iPhone. There's a lot of apps out there how you can find devices. And so I said, a ping is a ping. And I said, that's what we're going to do. And so when we got there our first day, Mrs. Steve and I went to a certain area and she went to another area, and we started doing testing and had some, interesting results. But the really interesting results occurred when Randy was there. And our host and hostess, as we went down to the bridge, and Mrs. Steve and I, and we were standing there, and we parted and went different directions. Randy and our host and Mrs. Steve, they went back to the vehicle, and myself and another our hostess and another contributor to our travels took us down near the scene. And so we had separated and parted ways. And while I was there, Mrs. Steve had the idea of pinging my phone, which we hadn't planned on that. She took it upon herself, and which I'm very glad that she did. Your conversation with everybody was what? That didn't make sense.
That didn't. This doesn't compute.
And so she showed Randy, and she showed the host, and they all agreed that it didn't make sense. And then they said, well, it might make sense, and it might not. And so we all came back and got together, and we decided to go to town to eat. And while we're sitting there at the dinner table, Randy looked at me and he said, you was 3.8 miles away from us. And I said, what are you talking about? And he said, the phone pinged 3.8 miles away from us. And knowing the landscape, knowing how much time I'd researched, knowing where the crime scene was at, knowing where the parking lot was at, I knew that was an impossibility. And so I look over at Mrs. Steve, and I asked her, I said, what was the distance? And she verified, the host and hostess verified, or the host verified, and said that didn't make any sense. And I said, well, that means that we're going to have a long night. And so we left the restaurant, and I had to go and check, and which I was going to do a low light nighttime land navigation op anyway. But I just wasn't planning on doing it that night after supper. So we went to the cemetery, which is, just a few hundred feet from Logan's house and property, and sat there. And she did, as you'll go, when we get into this, I'll start showing you the some of the logs and some of the screenshots that she captured. And you'll get a better understanding of what probably went on the night Libby and Abby were missing and those phones were pinging. Lola, Valana, thank you. Thank you for your, she says, thank you for your research and thank you for your support. It means a lot to us. We were there and as I show you some of the screenshots that she saved, you'll start understanding that while I believe Libby's phone when she rebooted it or whatever was done, that the Find My Device or Find My Phone or whatever app that she would have been using hadn't been turned on. But still, the phone service and whoever the carrier is has the ability to ping. And I believe that's what was happening with law enforcement. And I think there was some comments from people that said, well, that phone was pinging all over town. And then people said, well, the phone was brought back. It was dead. It was turned off. There was a lot of speculation of what was going on. And I don't know exactly what was going on with their phone, but I can tell you what went on with my phone. And it was extremely confusing. And you'll see, like I said, as we get into this. But simply, we're not going to be getting into all the technical terms of what is a cell phone ping. And it's just a signal sent to a phone, and the cell phone calls back in and sends the data in and says, this is where I am. and it'll give either, a GPS location. And there's two ways it says here at network provider. It's through either pinging or triangulation. And pinging is a digital process, and triangulation is an analog process. I don't know what all that means, but I can tell you what the information that was on the screen and how confusing that information can be. Because when we arrived at the cemetery, which is these coordinates right here, you can type in this coordinates in Google Maps. And if you have a hard time ever putting in coordinates in Google Maps, don't worry about trying to put in degrees, feet, inches, any of that. Just type in the numbers with spaces and it'll pull it up. But anyway, this is a location where the hostess, and Mrs. Steve and myself arrived after dark on Wednesday. And so we were sitting there in the corner of the cemetery, and Mrs. Steve pinged my phone. And when she pinged my phone, it was around 7:38, I believe, is that time. You'll be able to blow up the screen as much as you need. And it didn't locate me. It just gave a big circle, and I'm sitting I'm sitting 3 feet in front of her in the front seat of a vehicle, and it says that approximate location. It couldn't locate me. It knew where her phone was because she was the stationary pinging phone or looking for my device, but it couldn't find my device. It says I'm somewhere within this circle, and it brought up and said Pittsburgh. And I have no idea why it said Pittsburgh, because when I got out of the vehicle and moved about 100 feet, and I said, and this is just 6 minutes later, I said, ping me again. She pinged again, and it still said in that approximate location, and still didn't give where I was at. And so we already saw that there was but it relabeled that screenshot as Delphi. Don't know what the two differences were. I really don't understand why it would do that. But it was part of the mystery of what's going on in that part of the trails. And I'm sure there's some people out there that work in this industry that could explain what exactly was going on. But it does lead to some of the answering some of the mystery that night when they say, well, the phone was pinging everywhere. And as we get into it, you're going to see that there was a great deal of information that is extremely confusing. This is my find my phone ping times. I left them and I went into I was doing some night ops, land navigation, in going in the area. And as I travel, going through the area, different things as I progressed from the cemetery towards Deer Creek, the information just started banging from one location to another. You can see at 7:38, like I told you, in 7:44, it says I'm somewhere in a circle. 4 minutes later, and I had given them instruction that either I contact them, because we had walkie-talkies also, so I could call in and communicate with them and tell them, go ahead and ping me now. And they also had directions to ping me at their own pace of ever how long they were keeping times. They were all trying to figure out what, at this time, we didn't know what the first where it was going to go, because at 7:48, it said a tenth of a mile away, which is, oh, that's interesting. At 7:49, the next minute, once again, a tenth. 2 minutes later, it says I was 3/10 of a mile away, which was something that I hadn't moved, but about 20 or 30 feet. And when I talk about moving, and on these GPS location, that when I was checking my phone, and it would give me the GPS locations. And if you've ever been to this part of the country and to where the crime scene is, of course, as you progress towards Deer Creek, you're moving in one direction, but also you're moving downward. And when I, like from 748 to 749, there was about a 20-foot difference in the elevation. That if you go into your compass location GPS, you'll see they'll give you sea level and what height you are. And so I had dropped about 20 feet. Then I dropped another 20 or 30 feet and hit it again. And that GPS location gave me that I was 40 feet higher than where I was previously, which made no sense. And you know, I have all this on some, well, not on the screenshots for that, but because I didn't save my screenshots, I was working my way down that some of these areas that if you've ever been there, you'll understand it's not just a walk on a trail. Now, there are other areas of how you can walk in these wooded areas, but this area here is extremely dangerous, hostile. I mean, it is elevated. You can trip and fall and roll down a ravine. There are other ways, I'm sure, that they found that's far more gentle. But if you go directly from the cemetery and try to find and walk towards the crime scene, it's extremely hostile, extremely dangerous. And I don't recommend anyone do it in daytime or night, especially night. But at 7:56, 5 minutes later, as I progressed down towards Deer Creek, once again, it says I've point tenth of a mile. A few minutes later, they pinged me, and it says I was 5.4 miles away, and that to get to me, it would take 13 minutes. At 8:06, once again, when they pinged me, it says I was 5.5 miles, 13 minutes away. 30 seconds later, I think that they were on a 30-second time frame that they would ping me, and they said approximate location somewhere in the circle and gave no area I was at. Then a minute later, 5.5 miles away. Another minute later, 5.4 miles away. And then 30 seconds later, during that same time period, it says I'm 90 feet from Mrs. Steve. That didn't happen. At 8:09, it says I'm 90 feet from Mrs. Steve. That's not correct. I have we have the screen saves, whereas you can see the actual pins, but I just didn't do it to clutter up this map. 8:10, it says a tenth of a mile. 8:12, it says 100 feet from Mrs. Steve. Not correct. 8:17, I was tenth of a mile from Mrs. Steve. That might be close because I was coming out by then. But the three arrows that you see yellow, that 8:04, 8:06, and 8:08, those arrows are pointing that when you look at the screen saves from her device, they are pointing that I was standing dead center of, or within the creek, and that did not happen. I never entered that creek. I was hundreds of feet away from that creek, and this brings up the issue about the pings and the location and what was probably happening that night. I know it happened on my device. Did this happen on Libby's and Abby's device? Don't know, but I know it happened on my device on the Find Me app. And so this has a large implications of what does this mean? And it has, you know, that can you trust the GPS and the phone pings in that area? I have to say you can't anymore. So all this stuff about the FBI search warrant and Ron Logan and even the pings of where Libby's and Abby's phones were and where the upload would have occurred, it just opens up all different types of questions. And it's absolutely, like I said, it just shook our world. And as we drove back towards town, it shook our world. This is Mrs. Steve's cell phone. It's an approximate 5 mile circle. There's a little box there, but and so from where that is, that when you look at my area of where those things is, this is where would cause the confusion that if they were looking for me for my device, they would say that I could be anywhere within this box. And like I said, though, I was never 5.5 miles away. I was never 5.4 miles away. And some of the times when it said I was 90 feet from the car, impossible, didn't happen. When it said I was in the middle of the creek, impossible, didn't happen. And once again, and here's the 3 times that it showed that I was in the middle of the creek. As you can see, that when she pinged me at 8:04, it says I'm standing in the middle of the creek. Didn't happen. 8:06, middle of the creek. Didn't happen. 8:08, middle of the creek. Didn't happen. And so that would lead to some of the confusion. And some of these pings, it would show you that where the flag is, and it says 90 feet, but it's not 90 feet, and it's not 5.4 miles. So extremely confusing. And so this probably is what may have occurred that night and led to that. Well, the phone is pinging, may have led law enforcement down a path, or emergency personnel, or people at the phone company, or anyone to believe that the phone is active and the girls are in town riding around. Don't know if that's what happened, but if they were looking for me, that might have been what they would have concluded if you looked at this data, that, the phone is moving, so all is well. Don't know, but we found it extremely interesting. And with that being said and everything, if you have any information on Libby and Abby, most certainly if you have a person of interest, let them know, call law enforcement, give them that information, whoever your person of interest is or your suspect. And there's so much other stuff that we learned, but I can't get it all in this one show in an hour and a half. So tonight I wanted to focus on the phone pinging information, and was the phone out there? Had it been returned? Because there's so much speculation about the phone pings. What did it mean? You hear speculation about that. Well, Bridge Guy had the phone and brought it back. Is that the case, or what I believe? From my control test, that isn't what I believe. I think the phone was there from the moment that it was dropped, thrown, ever how it got there shortly after the abduction. And that's where it was. And all these pings resulted from, for whatever reason, of the low power, low access, or, because whenever I'd call her occasionally on the phone, and she said that the phone would break in and out, that it wasn't a real clear signal. And so that signal strength could have played a large part in why it was pinging here and there. Don't know. I'm sure there's some people out there that understand this far greater than we do. But it was very confusing. But anyway, like I said, that's what we're going to look at tonight, and what I'll be answering the questions on for this control test. And I want to thank Cop Facts for bringing up the point of that didn't make sense. And does this make sense of what we found? And, I don't know what causes that effect out there on these phones, but there's a lot of room for improvement. And sometimes we've checked these things, and it shows exactly, before we went on our trip, we'd hit it and it says 5 feet or 15 feet, and that'd be exactly right. So when we got to Delphi and it did this, it shocked us. But anyway, like I said, don't forget, members only tomorrow evening. We're going to be having another show and going more in this. So if you have some more questions, or if I don't answer all your questions tonight, join us tomorrow night for the members only, and we'll cover the rest of the information. But anyway, we got any questions?
Few dozen. All right. So here we go. Let's see here. First question from Molly. Any idea what time the members only live will be tomorrow? And thanks for doing it. Don't look at me. That's
we'll try probably 7. I think we'll do 7.
Okay, 7. All right. Insomniac. My wife wins no matter what.
Well,
I'm
on the
that
bridge
one.
thing, what it was, and it's, I hated it. I hated to see her stressed. It's not good seeing Mrs. Steve stressed, and she's right. I'm no longer 20 years old, and I've had enough broken bones, and she's patched me up enough and fixed me up enough over the years that for me to last a little bit longer, I guess I have to listen to her a little bit.
Finally. Only took a few decades. All right, double rainbows. I didn't want you on that bridge either, Steve.
I've promised I'll never cross that bridge.
Yeah, he's already saying he's going back without me, so we know what he's going to do, right? I guess that means I got to go back. All right, Molly, at Mrs. Steve, that bridge is creepy. Hubs bet you would win on Steve crossing it. Steve, see
Yep.
there? All right, Miss Dog Lover, I can't believe anyone is allowed to cross that dangerous bridge. See, I'm not alone. Thank y'all for reinforcing my answer.
The ties have aged. I don't know what they were 5 years ago, but now they are spongy in spots, and a couple of them did pop and creak. But there's a lot of steel framework that's only 2 or 3 feet that's under those ties.
Don't matter.
And so even if you fell through the first ties, there's a good chance that you might catch it.
Stop.
Okay.
Just stop. Support with Steffa. The bridge looks worse than it did in March. Thank you, Steffa.
I thought it was a beautiful bridge.
I didn't say it wasn't pretty. Just said it's creepy. Sleepy, Indiana does have some very good people.
And I met some of the greatest ones.
We sure did.
I can't believe that anyone could be better in what our host and hostess and how kind and informative and everything they did for us.
Another creepy bridge from Insomniac. I'm just reinforcing this. I am just going to light him up. Spitfire, who used to be Single Mama 4.
Okay.
I love the name. Mrs. Steve is right. It's a creepy bridge. See there? Mark, refreshing both of you experienced genuine Hoosier hospitality, like known genuine Southern hospitality.
And Mark, and when I get out there, I'm on. I owe you so much. You're so
You're
understanding.
first on the list.
Yes, Mark. I think we had 3 set-up meetings, and every one of them got canceled due to some unforeseen something coming up. But as I told him that night, that I sent him an email that maybe the next day we could, but something important had came up during that conversation, and we had to go test and do that night land nav, and it was well worth it because, like I said, that's probably one of the most revealing control tests that we did out there. Although we had some other control tests, such as with the radios and the walkie-talkies, and sometimes they worked and sometimes they didn't.
Okay. And this is priceless. Lynn, the spider will get the bug. That's a good one.
And I'm glad that we got there, and the weather was absolutely miserable for Georgia people.
Oh my God,
and
froze to death.
Yes, but that did allow that we weren't eat up with bugs and stuff from the forest.
Okay, hold on one second. All right, little Google machine action here.
Laura Dunn, thank you. So looking forward to meeting you next time. Thank you for your efforts here in Indiana this week.
Thank you.
It was an honor to be there. And like I said, we had a great contact with the other 2 families, and we're looking forward to helping and assisting other families in the future.
And Molly, are there still only 2 cell towers in the Delphi area?
I don't know how many they were, but if they've improved the system and we still have these results, I can't imagine what it was like 5 years ago. Because if like I said, if they've improved it and we're still having these results, it's extremely terrible.
Okay, hold on. I'm having Google issues. I've got somebody coming on live. I got
Charlie, awesome research, and yeah, very confusing.
Yeah, no kidding. It was very confusing. Still is very confusing.
Yeah. Because, like I said, you can't give any credibility to even what was in the affidavit, to and what Copfax saw, and when he sent that to me, and I verified, and I said, yeah, he's got a point. And then this, like I said, has a point. Grismatically clever, super sticker. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate y'all's support.
All right. And support with Steffa. I did not know you could ping a phone.
Well, we did that. Like I said, I did some research and I said a ping's a ping. And so rather than law enforcement doing it, we decided to do it on our own devices and came up with this information. And it appears credible.
Okay. And from Molly, how deep was the creek?
I never stepped into the creek, but the creek was extremely low this time of year. Now, from the cemetery elevation down to the creek, you're looking at somewhere around 80 feet. So the transition of that 80 feet, that if you come straight from that cemetery down towards where some of the crime or the crime scenes is reported to be, and some of that area, and from the bridge itself, it's extremely steep.
All right. And Anna, that Libby's phone pinged at all, I think means the phone wasn't discarded in the water.
I would have to agree with you. I think, the rumor is they recovered it and off of land. And, that comment and who made the comment, I have no idea. I just know that has always been speculation that the phone was in town and was pinging here and there, and then it was found later to be within a certain distance of Libby and Abby, which has brought forth a lot of speculation. And my research shows that being in the general area, it will create that data of being 5.5 miles away, 5.4 miles away, or 90 feet within probably a 60-foot circle.
And from Lynn, was it hitting every tower?
We don't know. I have no idea what tires it was hitting. We didn't have that data, but she just kept taking screenshots. I think she did 25 or 27 screenshots during my travels and to get this information.
And Anna, now we are learning that all the geolocation via cell phone stuff isn't as accurate as some claim. God knows if RL was inside or outside his house, but nothing says he was at the crime scene.
Not anymore. I would have to give him the benefit of the doubt that if I was sitting on a jury, that from what I just did, no, means nothing. And also, they said that his phone's pinged off the trail, which most certainly is within the 5.5 miles. I mean, it's only a few hundred feet. And so, and sometimes it just said that you was within this circle, which the circle was greater than 5 miles.
And sees through, Libby had not reinstalled the Find My Phone app after she factory reset it. Becky called phone company to try and ping it. They would not do it at that time.
And I have heard that. And then, like I said, I heard that the other one, that the phones were their phone pinged all over town. Which one is correct? I have no idea. I just know that my phone was pinged all over town, or did by the definition of
town. And Bonnie, to be sure, Libby didn't reset an adult, or did someone took over her phone? Yes.
I have no idea.
And Kathleen, I had issues with my phone. Company said it was pinging off 10 towers when it should have pinged only on one tower. Would that show a phone supposedly different places than where you actually are?
Well, sometimes when you ping your own phone, it gives you your information. She was pinging my phone off of her device to locate where my phone was, which would be similar to the company doing it to get directions to find me or find where my phone was. And that was the difference. That sometimes it said 1/10 of a mile, 90 feet, or 5 miles, and all within minutes of each other. And just like I said, it doesn't make any sense. It shows that there's issues within the pinging of phones and locating them.
And Molly, cemeteries at night, creepy. And you're not kidding, that was creepy.
They were all in the car locked in it.
Didn't matter. DGR Dave, BP said Libby's phone was glitching, which is why she reset it. I certainly understand the glitching. Lynn, how is the reception near the bridge?
It's terrible. I lost I lost all my bars once or twice, but we had a backup system of the walkie-talkies.
This was when you were in the thing, though.
No, not all the way.
When we were on top of the bridge, though.
Yes.
It wasn't as bad as being in the gully.
No.
Okay. All right. Bless you. Y'all make it?
Oh, yes.
All right. And Anna, as I recall, BP said the Find My Phone app had not been reloaded. That's why it couldn't be used to find the phone.
And would they have found it with it? I don't know if they would have not. More than likely, it would have been close to the phone. Which, how far from the bodies was that? There's different reports.
All right. And Kathleen, I don't pretend to understand any of this, so forgive the question if it doesn't make any sense. Doubt we have 10 towers anyway.
Actually, in some of my research, it's not always the closest tower that pings you. Some of the research I said that they'll go out to 20 miles. So there's a great possibility that within the 20 miles or wherever you were on that date, that there may be 10 towers.
And Molly, interesting. What gen iPhone do you and Mrs. Steve have? And have you upgraded to iOS 16? And no, we have not upgraded yet, but he is most definitely upgrading after what I've seen. Mark, interesting. Pittsburgh is the first place north of Delphi, just across the Wabash on Highway 18.
Okay. I didn't know what, like I said, almost an exact same thing. It said Pittsburgh one time, it said Delphi the next. Like I said, I just found that interesting.
And Molly, just looked up some info. If the phone is in a more obstructed place under tree cover where the satellite cannot hit the phone as well, it will be less accurate. No doubt.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
And Bonnie, slippery, damp that February.
Yes.
Yeah.
I would imagine.
And Lady Drake, also the rocks in the creek are slippery.
Or sharp.
Or sharp, sorry. Already did this.
I never stepped into the creek. I have no idea. I was prepared to, but I didn't have to.
All right. And Hundo Wither? I'm not sure about that one. Did your phone ever say that you were pinging all over town?
No, that's just my interpretation from my viewing of it. Because when your phone says that you're 1/10 of a mile away and then it says you're 5.4 miles away, then you're 90 feet away, that's just pinging all over. So you can put any other word in there you want, but it showed that we were pinging in different locations within minutes of each other. So for what it is, ever how you want to describe it, I'm not going to say that it says I was all over town, but it does say that to get to my phone sometimes would take 13 minutes and sometimes I only had to walk 90 feet, which isn't the case. Those were wrong.
All right. And Miss Dog Lover, isn't accuracy dependent on strength of signal?
It probably will be, because I don't think I got over 1 bar the whole time during this test in those areas. And sometimes I didn't even have a bar. And how it said I was just within a circle and didn't even show, it just said that Steve somewhere's within this circle, which could be anywhere within that circle.
And Sean, the fireman that was directing the search in the morning said on the news the phone was pinging near the bridge.
And he would have been right.
Okay. And Sean, does Ellie really have Libby's phone?
I have no idea. I assume so, but I don't know.
And sees through, do you think it has anything to do with the tree cover?
Like I said, I haven't done enough research to see how much the satellite issue is or not, or if it's just totally off of the whatever information from the phone to the tower. I just don't know how all that stuff works. That's for a higher pay grade than me.
And Fuchsia, the pings can send you on a wild goose chase.
Oh yes, I'd hate to know that they were hunting me or had to call to help me and with the directions that it was giving.
I would have just, I don't know what I would have done. Lynn, it may be the reason why they searched to town.
I would think so.
Absolutely.
Because you would go, what was their normal on the victimology? What was their normal areas they would have went to? Where did they and their friends go to? And usually it's populated areas.
And Bianca, I hope that this will also help us figure out why Ron Logan's phone was pinging that night. Also, thank you for all your good info.
And that's one of the biggest things in revelations and issues that a lot of people are going to look at this information and think about. And you should, for the fact that being boots on the ground and in that area, it's changed my opinion of a few things I had taken for granted from watching the helicopter footage to just looking at and thinking that this is a creek and that is, it has gentle slopes and, it's only this far from a road, and which is not the case. Now, there probably is ways that are far easier to get to the crime scene. But if you go the direct route, it is extremely, like I said, you would fall 50 or 60 feet down to almost probably a 70-degree incline in certain areas. I mean, it's steep. And once or twice, as I was coming out, I almost did backflips. That if I hadn't had my walking stick and a good grasp of a tree, I would have went back down to the base of some of those embankments.
And Miss Dog Lover, when I check my mom's location, sometimes it shows her as being somewhere within a large circle, and that's in a decent reception area.
And so you've experienced exactly what we experienced that night.
Crazy. And Molly, that's amazing with how inaccurate the phone pings were.
Yeah, I always thought they would, like I said, when we tested out before we went on a trip, to make sure that it would be accurate, it was accurate. It said 5 feet, 20 feet, 15 feet. And so but when we got there, that was not the case.
All right. And sees through. Can a phone ping while powered off?
I don't believe so, but I don't know. You'd have to ask Snowden about some of that. And I think that he has more, I don't understand everything about these phones. And, so at some point, I'm going to try to get someone that has more knowledge on that, and we'll discuss that further.
And Paper Chaser, lately I've been having trouble with driving directions I'm getting from maps. Usually it doesn't know where I'm starting from, so the directions are way off. Too much data for the towers.
That may be the exact issue, that so many people have so many devices, it's just overwhelming.
All right, so now all of my starred ones are gone. So now I've got to go way back up here and see if I can figure out where I was. Okay, so here we go. All right, and that was Paper Chaser. There's Paper Chaser right there. Okay, let's see here. And Copfax is on here.
Thank you, sir. I hope that at some point I'll send you an email in a day or two. I need to talk to you some more about this, and I'll give you a phone number if you have time. I'd love to discuss it more in depth with you, because there's other information that I've realized while there that I need to discuss with you.
Let's see here. In Lady Truth, I know in rural areas, people know what cell service is the best for them. My parents live in a small town, and the people told me. So, yeah, I agree with that. Let's see here. Lady Drake, since the pings aren't real accurate on the locations, can it still be used?
I think, I mean, yes, you could probably use it, especially for search and rescue, but it would be confusing for search and rescue because which pings are there and which are not. I mean, you check what you have and try to figure it out. And I'm sure they tried that, and but it just didn't work out that night. If they were successful in getting the phone pinged at all, I don't know. But hopefully they, like I said, at the end of the day, we still, that isn't what led to the discovery. Sadly,
Right.
I wish they had.
All right, you ready? You got two coming up that you're going to have to think about, okay? DGR Dave, how was the coffee?
Oh,
I knew that was going to get him.
oh, my host and hostess, they are the greatest coffee maker. That they was never an empty cup.
Oh my gosh.
They had coffee, great coffee.
Divine. All right, so you ready?
Yes.
All right. Now, this is going to kind of be a little funky. Okay. Aspen Connor, longtime viewer, first time caller. Question for Mrs. Steve. What percentage of those 2 bottles of empty wine did Steve consume at dinner?
Of the 2 bottles,
Of the 2 bottles, that would have been,
maybe maybe a half a coffee cup.
I don't even know if it was that much.
I don't either.
He tasted one. I
Yeah.
can say that.
I'm
tasted one.
I'm not a wine drinker.
But we'll talk later. We'll talk later. All right, let's see here. Miss Dog Lover, they need to close that bridge. I agree wholeheartedly. Let's see here. Bianca, didn't RL have flip phone? Those are supposed to be very hard to locate, right?
I have no idea on any of that. Like I said, I'm gonna have to get someone that has greater knowledge on that, and that might reveal some more information about that issue of what we saw.
All right. And Double Rainbows, your thoughts on BG coming from the south side?
There's reasonable theories for both sides. Doesn't matter. We don't really know, and probably won't know until we go to court on that. But looking at it and everything I saw, it's very possible it could have originated from either side. And I do have an opinion I got to talk to Cop Facts about. And Metal Mama become a YouTube member. Thank you, Metal Mama. Spoke to her last night on It's a Crime and Shame. Nice lady.
Love the name.
But I've got to talk to Cop Facts about some of those issues.
All right. And I'm trying to get back up here. And if I have missed your question, I apologize. This is a bunch. So if there is a question out there that you are dying to have an answer, email Steve.
Email me, put it in comments.
Well, I'm hoping
then we still got the members thing tomorrow night, so don't forget that.
Get here. Okay, let's see here. Let's see here. All right, here we go. Hold on. All right. So we're not sure about the flip phone.
No, I'm not.
Okay. Coming from the south side. And Susan Purdy, I used to do a lot of creek fishing. Mr. Steve, it's like that at most creeks. A lot of times I didn't even get service. If you go to another creek, you will probably get the same result.
And yes. And I agree, because I do a lot of fishing on our lake, and it's the same on the lakes, that when you get down there in some of those, in certain areas of the lake, you have almost no reception or any type of communication.
All right, double rainbows. I heard that the bridge stands 7 feet high. Is that true?
I know it's the bridge itself is like 63 feet above the creek bed. Um, and
It's a long way down
I've jumped off buildings higher
with a rope.
with a rope.
You didn't have a rope.
Oh,
Oh, oh, oh.
if I'd known that, I took a rope.
Yeah, no. Thank you, Kay. I appreciate it. Let's see here. And Kimmy, I've read one case where the background apps still showed the missing person's location, although the phone was off.
I don't know. That's interesting there.
That would be
It
interesting.
would be. What was the last known ping or location?
Yeah.
That
would be. All right. And Cincy, it would be interesting to see how different apps work in that area, like location on Google Maps, Find My Phone, and what 3 words?
I don't know.
I'm not sure about the what 3 words, but the other 2 would really be kind of
Yes.
cool. All right. So we'll add that to our
Future
to-do list.
Yeah, to do.
That means we're coming back. Yay! Let's see here. And why? I'll cross that bridge with you, Mr. Steve, as long as the ladies aren't watching. LOL.
I know someone that won't be back on at the end of the bridge for that to occur. It's not good to get her upset.
No.
But I appreciate that, and I look forward to it.
All right. And Daisy, would it be fair to say Ron Logan warrant request stating phone ping was near the crime scene is hogwash based on this testing, correct?
Could the phone ping have been accurate? Yes. Could the phone ping have been wrong? Yes. And I don't know which one it was, but sitting on a jury, which one would you give? And does that create reasonable doubt? And at the end of the day, that's what you have to argue, because I could say, I can't 100% say it was wrong that the phone wasn't there. The location of where the scene is, how hard it is to get there, and going to certain locations in total blackout conditions. Because when I went in there, I didn't carry a flashlight. It was absolutely 100% dark, no moonlight, cloudy, and couldn't see 5 feet. And so land nav was extremely difficult. But I wanted to do that because there's always been that question of, well, the bodies of Libby and Nabby were brought in there after dark. I couldn't do it. Me and 3 other guys probably couldn't do it without hurting ourselves. And there would have been a lot of evidence to that. Not saying it didn't happen, but it would have been extremely difficult to do it in absolute blackout conditions.
And Haunted Parlor, do you think that if there is a trial, they will take the jurors to see the trail and bridge in person?
I would expect so. It's quite often that they would. If it's anything, it would be, that the jurors or that the prosecutors felt that it needed to be seen. And from what I saw, it changed my perspective so much about certain aspects of this case from watching it on the YouTube channels, watching it from the helicopter flight, and being there is 2 different things. Absolutely changed my opinion on several things.
CJK, I'm really surprised that the township or county hasn't repaired the bridge or made it inaccessible.
No, they paved it.
They paved it to the bridge.
They did right the opposite. They built a highway to it.
They built a highway to the bridge, but then it stopped.
It's an extremely nice walk trail. Extremely.
Yeah.
And if you look on there, and when Ives tells you that the trail system, you could walk from downtown all the way to the bridge in just a few minutes. That's not really the case. There's not a continuous there. Some of the walking you have to do either on surface streets, sidewalks, and or go to certain parking lots. It's not like it's a continuous trail. But it can be walked, because we walked it all the way from the bridge to the library in town. And if you could do it in a half hour, you could do it if you're determined and you took the shortest route, knowing the shortest route. But it's not as clear as what the signage says.
And Bianca, I think this study is brilliant. Finally, we will have some proof that in a rural area amongst a lot of trees that cell phone pings aren't something to trust.
And I didn't know until we did these controls, and I'm on board with you now.
And Kay, do the locals think targeted or random?
I think, you've got some, but I think more and more people are going targeted. Law enforcement, some of the first news briefings, law enforcement was going towards that when that one officer was given a briefing, that I don't think it was random. I think that's more targeting. And now that I've looked at it, random is going to be which we're going to do another show about locating the area and how difficult it is to locate it, because it's not easy. I'm telling you, we spent most of a morning.
Yeah, it was quite funny. It's quite funny. And Julia, this is really invaluable research at True Crime Web. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
And Professor Pug, Cop Facts is a good man.
Absolutely.
I like that name too.
And I've always learned and know that when a wise man speaks and has a question, you find the answer to that question, and it's very beneficial.
Yep. All right, let's see here. Kay McBride, do you have a theory on where BG entered and exited?
Yes, I have now changed certain aspects of that, and we'll be getting more into that. And that's actually one of the reasons I've got to get in touch with several of my former cohorts, and also speak to some other professionals and see if and do a little think tank with them and see where that goes.
And Rose Burton, why is the FBI in a murder case? Isn't that a state crime?
No, it is, but they are a supporting agency that if you're ever in need of resources, there's no better resource than the federal government and what they can bring to the table to assist in missing children, missing persons. And that's what, we should all work together. And as law enforcement said that day from the beginning, that they had never seen such a response. And I think that you now seen law enforcement officer in the country, and if you show them what occurred in the opening days of this case, they would agree they've never seen such a response.
And Kathleen, if it goes to trial, will defense use that the pings are not correct to their client's phone?
Well, they'll get some experts in there to do a far better test than what I did, but it's very likely.
And Mark, I didn't really pay attention to the term phone pinging until this case, honestly.
And I never thought much about it either. But like I said, when the question was first arose and I looked at it, I said, okay, let's look at it some more.
And Lisa, if all the searchers were on their phones, that would mess the tower capacity right there and hamper efforts.
I hadn't thought about that. That might be a good point.
So that'll be something else for you. All right, let's see here. And Steve and Mrs. Steve, love you guys so much. I will see you guys later. We have a special treat to announce.
Oh, they're having trick and treat. They're having a Halloween party.
Oh,
at
interesting.
Some point. Yes.
There you go. Let's see here. Susan, I think some of the speculation was because it didn't ping at all for several hours until the middle of the night.
It could be. I don't know. I don't know if certain things had happened or don't have any idea. And But that is also interesting because we went in there,
Very
but
interesting.
we were very active in what we were trying to do, and so I don't know how active the phone company was or who and how often they pinged. I just don't know. But like I said, I've got to find me a specialist in that field, and I think Crime and Shame may have an individual that knows far more about this than I do.
All right. And Molly, wow, I wonder how much cell phone ping data has been used as main evidence to convict people for crimes, and it isn't that accurate. At least maybe not in some places.
And that was what
that
when they do convict, I'm sure the experts on both sides evaluate that information and that data, and that some areas it would be absolutely beneficial and accurate, and in some cases it wouldn't be. And so when we look at some of the information that was in the affidavit, which we're going to go into another show a little bit more, and we'll be discussing that more in depth because that is a subject that we should discuss, especially with Ron Logan's pings.
All right. And Molly, you can turn off your cellular service on a digital phone. It won't let the tower cell provider know where you are.
Yeah, it has to answer back to tell you where it has to answer to say, here I am.
Yeah. In Teresita, Mike P. said it, quote, pinged all over town in a news interview the night of the 13th.
And I didn't know who said it, but I appreciate you clarifying who it was said. And like I said, my phone pinged all over. But it didn't show that it was in town. It just said, I'm in this circle, which that circle included the town. And so if you're looking for somebody that might go into areas where there's large congregations of persons or where a child might go that night, it's understandable that they would go to where the food is, where the pizza is, where kids gather at night. And so it would be a natural assumption.
And Aspen, all this talk about pinging makes my mind go straight back to my 11-year-old humor.
We're going to have a long talk.
I knew that was coming.
Yeah.
I'm
looking forward to December. We're going to have a long talk there, Aspen.
All right. And Molly, I couldn't handle locked in the car in the dark in a cemetery with a machine gun. Eek.
Yeah, they were. I was out in the bitter cold, but I overdressed. I was so hot when I got back, and it was like 30
something.
It was
freezing cold.
It was 30 something degrees.
All right, and Kay McBride, since the phone pings have issues, we don't know if the phone was around town, right?
That's exactly the point, and you're right. We don't know now, and that was why at the dinner table while we were sitting there in town with Randy and our host and hostess, and we realized, or when they started telling me what happened, because I didn't know what they had done. And then when they told me what they had done, and I said, well, that's not right. We're going to have to figure this out. And we need to figure it out now because we were limited amount of time at that point, and which led to this.
All right, here we go. Purdue RN, Mr. and Mrs. Steve are true crime warriors. They are such a dynamic duo. They are God sent for these precious families who have suffered such great loss with many unanswered questions.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Love you.
It means so much to us.
And Anna, now we have research to refute the wild theories that drama channels keep using. It's a shame how facts can destroy good drama.
Well, like I said, I don't know. They're still going to argue and they're going to whatever. But I ain't tell you what my phone did. I got screenshots of it.
Mm-hmm. Let's see here. And sees through. So has it ever been confirmed the girls had a phone each?
I don't know. I have no idea. I know that just of the one for sure, because we got pictures taken that day and we have a video taken that day.
In Teresita, it was rumored that Weber's son found the phone on the hill. Randy G might know if that's true.
And I don't have any idea. The rumors I guess that you could clarify or qualify them as rumors because I had heard differently, and I hadn't heard that rumor before, so I don't know which is true.
Okay, let's see here. And Anna, I live down on a river surrounded by trees. The cell tower is a half-mile away, and I'm in a no service area. Go figure.
Oh my goodness!
No.
Oh my goodness!
That's awful.
That is. That's terrible.
Oh, this is priceless. True crime bloke. All the cool kids are here. I should watch this channel in the future. We hope you do, and we're glad you're here. Let's see here. All right, and support with Steph. I just looked up my daughter's location because I started getting scary mom vibes with all of this pinging talk. Well, did it work?
Yeah.
I mean, we hope yours worked and you knew exactly where she was. Let's see here. Randy Gravitt, Toby, told fire department was sent out to get the cell phone.
Okay.
Interesting. Okay. Oh, Aspen. Bloke? Yes, Steve is a good guy, but the real star is sitting next to him, and her name is Mrs. Steve. Oh, you're so sweet.
Oh, yeah. I have to hear that constantly. Adam is so sweet.
See?
Yeah.
Let's see here. Okay, now this is a good question. Patricia, do phone companies know the perimeter of their cellular coverage in all the different areas phones may be in? That's interesting.
I don't know, but I'll put that question down whenever I find my expert.
Yes. That is very interesting. All right. And Bianca, I live on the outskirts of town and my phone service goes in and out. The Wi-Fi doesn't work sometimes, and there isn't any trees like by the bridge.
Yeah.
Huh. That's interesting.
I'm telling you, it's so aggravating that we have such technology, and then it fails us at the most critical times.
All right. So, True Crime Bloke, the video quality always made me think it was taken from Libby's cloud or Snapchat memories. A raw video would be so much clearer.
You know, and there's a lot of speculation about that and these camera systems, although it was such a distance but most of these cameras on these smartphones are so high tech and so high quality that you would think so. But the distance probably played a large part in that.
All right, let's see here. All right, and roll tide. Ooh, that's really hard to say. Was the video that Libby took on her phone an actual video on her phone and not a Snapchat?
There's a lot of argument by both sides. You have people that say it was from the cloud and it had been compressed and decompressed, and that argument will probably never be answered because people feel so strongly on both sides. Which way was it? And I have no idea.
And I'm going to answer this one.
All right.
And Melissa, did Mrs. Steve walk down there with you? I walked on the concrete to the bridge in the woods, but not down the hill.
No.
I went, So no, I did not go down the hill.
Yeah. And yeah, she didn't like, you know, I was only out on the bridge, maybe 75 to 120 feet, maybe. And
I was having a come apart. Yeah, that was not good. All right. And True Crime Bloke, it wouldn't shock me if BG is in the background of a Snapchat memory. They last 60 seconds, and we know this is 43 seconds.
Yeah. I mean, anything's possible. Yeah. Anything's possible right now.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to see the full 43 seconds. I know that.
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. Let's see here. And Patricia, really, it never looks like that, excuse me, when we see it. That does make a difference if the terrain is really that rough.
It is, but now there's probably an easier path than what I experienced. But I did what I did for the fact that there's so much speculation that the from the crime scene to the cemetery was the natural escape route. Going directly is not the case. Nope, nope, nope. Or coming from the cemetery to that location is not easy. Could you do it? Yes, I did it. But could you do it? And would you do it twice? No, that's not the best way. Is there an easier way? I believe that people have said, I just didn't experience it.
All right. And Molly, a phone can ping when it is powered off. Newer ones will continue to ping 24 hours after battery has died. That's interesting.
Yeah, I don't know
So-
some of the technologies and different phone platforms out there. What will they be and where are they going? I have no idea, but I imagine there's a lot of safety features built into them that we probably don't even know about.
Yeah. All right. And True Crime Bloke, Snapchat memories are saved pics and videos in said user's memories section. If they logged in on another device and downloaded, it wouldn't shock me.
Yeah, and I have no idea.
So I wonder why they won't share that stuff.
I mean, I don't know.
That's crazy.
This technology stuff is a mystery to me, although I try to go out and research and try to figure out how to do some control tests and come in from an unknowing arena that I've never, experienced anything like this as far as some of the technologies that are out there now. But you wouldn't think that we would be in this situation with the information that we have from a crime that was 5 years ago with audio and video, but we are.
And this is priceless. Melissa, I have an Android and downloaded a Where's My Phone app. I was messing around and holding it, and I went to find my phone, and it said, in your hand. That's pretty good.
That is.
And Randy, Steve, did get from Google, take them 3 different areas of Delphi before we got to the Freedom Bridge.
And that was part of the issue, that when we was Googling of how to get to the Delphi Bridge, it took us to every imaginable place other than Delphi Bridge. But it was part of the Delphi Bridge Trail. Some people said that when their first entry, it would take them to the private drive. That wasn't the case for us, but we're going to cover some of that some more when we look at how when we arrived and part of the testing that we did in trying to locate. So we'll be covering that some more in the future.
And sees through, would you run the same test when the leaves are down? Maybe.
Yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely, we will. And let's see here. And Rob Lee, I know when geocaching, the GPS coordinates can bounce wildly under heavy tree cover. I'm guessing pings act the same.
I think the pings are the GPS coordinates and that they vary, but I think that's what it's trying to do, is that ping gives those coordinates and then it marks it from my brief research and understanding of it. And that's how come it was given different elevations and different locations and places that I know I was never at, that it said, this is where you're at. No, wasn't there.
And Roll Tide, respect for Perry and Steve in bringing support back for LE. Thank you for your service to the citizens that saved us in ways we didn't even know.
Thank you for that.
That was very gracious.
It was an honor. There's a lot of good people out there that we entered into to serve and protect, and we did our best.
All right. Oh, yeah. Paper Chaser. On the other hand, Kylie Rodney's last ping was extremely accurate at Prosser Reservoir.
Yes, you know.
So that worked out.
And that's what I'm saying is you just don't know if it is or it isn't. And then law enforcement still miss it on that one. That's so aggravating. It is.
And Alice B., I've been a bridge hunter, but would not get on that bridge. Can't believe it's not barricaded with a warning sign. Me either. I'll bring the sign. Let's see here. And Anna, Doug Carter has said there are many ways to get in or out of the trails. Did you get any thoughts about best ways to come and go unobserved?
Unobserved. I'm gonna have to think about that. There are some options, and I'm still going over some of the data in some of my notes. And like I said, my opinion has changed on certain areas of how a suspect would approach the area and how they would leave an area. And like I said, you just don't know that until your boots on the ground and see it. It's one thing looking at it on some type of device. It's another thing when you're seeing it in 3D and witnessing it firsthand. So I'm still working on that a little bit.
And sees through, after seeing the layout, do you believe if this was a planned murder, they would choose to park at CPS building? I find it hard to believe.
I find that would be I agree with you. Then you have to come back down that long trail passing people. Is it possible? Yes. But I do agree with you. I think it's hard to believe.
And True Crime Bloke, I've only ever seen Steve on other channels. Does he have credentials in law enforcement? Curious. He seems like a detective type. That's weird.
If you watch the first part of any of my videos, you'll see my introduction. I'm 20 years retired law enforcement. I was an investigator, retired now.
Sees through, did you discover that cut down trees may have nothing to do with the scene, of course?
There was some trees that were down. I didn't go and study them. My main purpose, like I said, I was wanting to get the drone in there, but the wind blew every day. And I just didn't feel like crashing $1,000 drone. And so it was, it was hostile, everything you can imagine, the temperature. But no, I didn't really pay attention for all the cut down trees. I think I've got some pictures that I've looked at that has some trees that are about a foot high that was about as big around my wrist. And they appeared to be cut. But what was the purpose of that and who cut them? I don't know. Was it law enforcement? Don't know.
Priceless, Steffa.
Thank you for your support, Steph. Thank you for your continued service to the community. Although Mrs. Steve is the true star, you are correct.
You know I was going to read that one. Kathleen, do you believe that the murderer drove in, parked, waited at the cemetery?
Not anymore. No, not anymore. Is it possible? Yes. But if he did, that was the worst planned parking area you would ever go to.
All right. And Kathleen, and how far from that cemetery was the area where the girls were found?
Just a few hundred feet. If that, yeah, just a few hundred feet.
But down a cliff.
Yes, but yes, it's extremely rough terrain between there and there.
Yeah.
Okay, we should be getting close.
And we are. And Purdue RN, Mr. Steve has no fear. Both Mr. and Mrs. Steve are brilliant minds, quickly and constantly assessing the area and data around them. Such great critical thinkers. Thank you both for your service. Oh, you're so sweet.
And thank you for everything you did for us, Purdue, and thank you for assisting us. And I look forward to meeting with you and Mr. Purdue again. Y'all were so gracious and kind to us, and we thank you. It means a lot, and you're a family from now on.
And Anne, having seen the location, what's your appraisal of one person being able to control the situation with two girls going across the creek?
It's possible, but highly unlikely. And and I have, that is something else I've got to get with another profiler friend or two and cop facts and discuss and see with our collective opinions of what that answer would be. But my opinions have changed. Can one individual handle that much chaos? Yes, but it's extremely difficult.
Sweet Revenge. I love that name. Do you know if the Kleins knew Ron Logan?
No, I do not. I'm looking forward to that answer. I will be getting with some other creators and see what we can come up with on that.
All right. Well, let's see. All right. And Sean, when I first went to Delphi, I walked down the trail, and when I got to the bridge, I never stopped. I just kept walking till I got to the end of the bridge. Didn't take time to think about it.
I wish I'd done that morning when she was in town with Purdue. I wish that's what I had done, and that way we wouldn't have had the issue with when she went with us. And I couldn't take watching her shaking her head and giving me those eyes of I'm in bad trouble.
Yep. Bad trouble.
I know when I mess up.
All right, let's see here. We've only got a few more here, and then we're going to have to call it if you're going to go to the other one.
Yes, I am.
All right, let's see here. Kimmy, Randy said there was a press announcement that they, by the mayor, and the bridge will be repaired shortly due to some grant.
I hope so.
Hallelujah.
I hope so. Now, she didn't even like crossing the Freedom Bridge. And the Freedom Bridge is, you could drive a tank across it.
Yeah.
And she scared her to death.
40-mile-an-hour wind? She
almost broke my hand crushing it, trying to walk across that.
Yeah, I didn't like that. All right, let's see here. Sees through. Will walkie-talkie suffer the same interference? We did that test, and from the Freedom Bridge to the Moonon Bridge, useless. Other areas from the drop off where Libya and Abbey to the cemetery, flawless. The walkie-talkie is not an issue. But once you get around that big steel bridge or the Freedom Bridge, it just absolutely destroys any walkie-talkie. And Roll Tide. When a wise man speaks and asks a question, you find the answer to that question. Meeting of the minds working together. And absolutely. Like I said, it's hard to argue with his career and his wisdom and what he has seen. So I respect him and always will. All right. And doesn't the FBI always come in on kidnapping and quote, guys down the hill is technically kidnapping, right? Correct. It's an abduction. Okay. And your blue light's still on. Oops. I like that blue light. She does. Let's see here. And Never Silent. Do you feel like the area is a good area to be able to collect a lot of things to use in court one day? Or maybe Ellie isn't saying much because they couldn't get good evidence in the area. You know, when you listen to Ives, he says that there's so much evidence there. But and do I think that they have the evidence to locate and find who Bridge Guy is? Yes, I do. I believe there's DNA there. But DNA is not just something that you can see. And sometimes it takes testing. I've been there. Where you send it months and you send it off, and then a month or two later you get the report, no DNA. You send it back and DNA did not match or whatever. And so it's not something that
Now I know that that's changed since some of the testing that we did years ago. But I absolutely do believe that Bridge Guy's DNA is at that scene, and that it's just a matter of time till it will be found.
And Rose Burton, Mrs. Steve would love to know what you really think. You probably don't.
She gets,
but maybe one day. Maybe one day. And Jamed Cartwright, I was there a few weeks ago. It's a decent walk just getting to the bridge from the main lot.
yeah, her legs are wore out.
Yeah, I got them shin splint things going on. True Crime Web, how long, hard of a walk was it from the cemetery to the bottom of the bridge area? That was the one that was down the hill, the straight drop, wasn't it, from the cemetery?
Yeah, if you're going one way, it's not as bad. It's going back the other way. It's extremely difficult. But coming from the elevated down, it's not that bad. But you still have to be careful because some of those inclines, like I say, are extremely steep, and it's easy to lose your footing.
In Journey, Mr. and Mrs., after your visit to the bridge area, is it an area that you yourselves would take and drop off your kid or grandkids? No. He might. I ain't dropping mine off.
And
he's going to have to go find another one to drop off.
Yeah, no. Living in a rural country area, country folk do what country folk do. And, you trust your neighbors, and everybody's going to watch out for each other. And then you have a monster enter into the area. It's just one of those decisions that no one expected what to happen there. I've said it. They've never experienced anything like that before, during, or since. And doesn't change the end result. So,
all right, 2 left.
All right.
Ready? And Kathleen, do you think the murderer or another came through and parked at the cemetery? One coming in from one side, meeting up, leaving Cemetery Road. How close were girls found to the cemetery?
I always thought that was a possibility, and prior to being there. And it might still be a possibility that if you're just looking at it from a map overhead, you would say, oh, I can park right here and just be a couple hundred feet away. And if that was the case, that we really don't know the particulars on it. But like I said, I've got to discuss that with some other people and see what the final answer is on that. I know what my opinion of it is no, not likely.
All right. And last one, guys, roll tide. So do you think the killer did or did not know she had a phone? Did the person just not care either way, or couldn't find it, and that was their mistaken downfall?
That's a good question. And the time spent there, you have, I've experienced where people work on time frames that they know that if they're going to commit a certain crime, such as a lot of times with bank robberies, they only dedicate a certain amount of time. And some armed robbers work in that same time frame. Was this the case for Bridge Guy, that he really didn't care, that he knew that if he committed an act within a certain time period, because that window of opportunity was extremely short? And from the interviews of Doug Carter and them, he does say that this is, by 3:30 it was over. How accurate is that? I don't know, but it was an extremely short time period from when the video was to the end. Aunt Clara became a YouTube member. Thank you for your support. And guys, I want to appreciate everybody that came here tonight, and looking forward to speaking to all the members tomorrow night, and answering any more questions, and think about certain things, and I'm looking forward to hearing everybody's opinion. And I want to thank all my viewers and everyone out there. Share this information. If you have any questions, just email me at steve@truecrimeweb.com. And I look forward to hearing from y'all. And we've got a bunch of other
Yeah.
stuff to
Are you
talk
going to
about.
do part 2 on Tuesday?
Yeah, we'll be doing another area of some of the information that we covered. It won't be the pings, but we'll still answer whatever questions you got. So we'll be back here on Tuesday at 8, and I'm looking forward to seeing y'all. Y'all stay safe out there. Right now, I'm gonna run over to Kristen.
Nope, it's a crime and shame, right?
No,
Nope.
it's
Uh-oh.
behind. I'm going to go see Kristen tonight. Crime and Shame is not here till they were last night.
Oh, they just said tonight.
Oh, Crime and Shame's on here tonight?
Well, she was on here, and they got something. They got gonna do. I don't know. They're saying something about something. They got an announcement.
Okay.
So I don't know.
All right. Well, I got to go check out Crime and Shame too then.
He's got to go figure out what's going on.
I'm going to go check and split my time between Crime and Shame and there's Kristen. So
Thank y'all.
See you guys. Thank y'all and appreciate everything y'all done for us. And I'm looking forward to getting back with y'all soon. Y'all have a great night tonight.